you need to pick the biggest rollover hero on SMG last pick right now, and I don't know what fits that role. I don't know why they're banning anti-mage. I mean, the only way SMG win this game is if they just steamroll T1, because right now, Queen of Pain, Morphling, two heroes that flourish when there's no lockdown for them, are going to have super free games. Like, Ember Spirit maybe can kill Queen of Pain, but, like, where's his follow-up lockdown? Like, I don't think she dies in a single chain. I mean, she could. She's kind of a squishy mid hero, but like it's hard. And Morphling especially, not at all. It's just not happening.
Well, you need some bursts like the Ursa styles. You could Bloodseeker.
I don't know about Bloodseeker. I mean, he's okay.
I mean, as far as rolling over them, I think the issue is you just don't. Your draft doesn't take objectives. So if you're playing something early mid game centric, it's like, well, you got to be able to take towers, take Roshan. I think that's where T1 looked at this and were like, they may just try out-carry our Morphling. It's mid one. He's one of the greediest carries in the SEA region. He's going to want some super hard late-game carry, and AM one of the few that can out-carry Morphling and matches up well against him.
Potentially, like, Faceless Void could be really good for that type of style. It's
yeah.
Like, and it's the lockdown that they're missing.
Right.
Potentially, they just do some absolute wacky stuff here. Put Dawn carry, and then, like, pick up a Beastmaster or something.
Luna is the mid one special as well, bit of a death ball. Doesn't love her here.
Yeah. It's definitely a hard draft to read just because, the Dawnbreaker can flex between roles. Weaver theoretically could be a carry, although I think...
Dazzle.
Dazzle.
Yeah.
All this flex. Ooh.
The only thing we know is Ember's most likely mid.
Could
well,
be
he could be a carry as well.
Yeah. Could be 4 position if you go way back, but I'm not sure that's a thing really anymore.
Yeah, Zephyr's the one that does that, right? he was a special.
I'm feeling way better about T1's draft right now. I think they just need to, like, they get last pick, so they get to just nicely tie up their draft with something that counters whatever SMG pick here. So I'm definitely, like, way more in T1's camp right now. But again, SMG, they have strong lanes. They have the potential to run over the game.
That's the most mid one hero I could ever imagine.
Just like the safe, we need to pick a carry. I think they're just taking a let's try and out-carry them approach to this game. Like, they're just feeling like they can't run over them, so...
Medusa can 1v5 in some situations.
Yeah. I mean, if we talk about the strength of the 4 heroes before the Medusa, it is the fact that they will run together. Sure, they don't have the greatest lockdown, but Disruptor Treant, they'll probably struggle pretty hard when they have Ember, like, remnanting into them, Dawnbreaker's throwing her hammer, jumping in, Dazzle backing them up with heal support, Weaver giving vision, all this stuff, right? They have the ability to get on top of you very fast on SMG, I would say. And Medusa is going to be farming the triangle this entire time.
And the matchup of Medusa Morphling in the late game is good for Medusa. She was a natural Scotty carrier, so it's not like she's too worried about being out-carried this game. So you do have that potential, I agree. What could T1 do as the final off-laner to prevent this?
I think they just want to pick something that kills Medusa in lane. I don't think either of the supports, unless Dawnbreaker is played as a 5 here and they do go with, like, Dazzle off lane, I don't think they have a 5 between Weaver or Dazzle that protects her extremely well if they do that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, by the way. I want the Dazzle 3.
Maybe Timbersaw, especially if they're doing, like, minus armor strat. Timbersaw's pretty nice against that, and Medusa can't do anything to him in lane.
I like that idea.
Yeah, right now it feels like all their team fights coming from their support, so that's, can be fine if they want to pick another kind of farming greedy hero, but it does put you in this position where I feel like you may want to play Maker in a core role, a hero that can get an item or two and go and make stuff happen. Cuckoo, if they're picking offlaner, like plays one of the best Bat Risers in SEA. That could be a hero that has kill threat on Medusa and just plays active.
Well, we've seen loads of Centaur recently.
I like the Centaur.
People have been really highly valuing it lately. Even Spirit were picking it.
He punishes the lack of lockdown here as well, so he's pretty good there.
Yeah, more stuns. Just pick more stuns.
Also,
yeah,
Mars
they don't have that short cooldown catch.
No, he's not. He's banned.
They need that hero that does what Ember does,
never
which is whenever Searing changes up, you can theoretically catch and pick up a hero. They need like a short cooldown stun, Sanking. Bat Rider's not short cooldown, but I feel like it can kind of do the same thing.
Razor.
But they're going to do what looks to be the Razor or Quap offline.
They want to win the lane.
Yeah.
Respect. Mid one's probably going to struggle really hard then.
It's offlane Weaver.
Okay.
Alright. I'm interested.
That's kind of surprising to me. I would have thought they wanted to put the Razor against mid one and just make him really miserable, but because they have no Oh,
we don't know whether Razor and Quap's going
they're not
yet,
picking. Yeah,
okay, it's Razor
it's mid. Okay, cool.
Right.
Queen of Pain. Interesting.
Cuckoo Quap coming back. I mean, I don't feel like that's like a easy lane for Quap by any means, again playing against Medusa, but definitely an interesting approach for T1, going very lane centric with these 3 cores, because none of these cores are heroes that are going to be looking to roam early, particularly when Quap's not on the mid lane getting those power runes. So I feel like if anything, this Razor pick made SMG's draft look a bit better to me. But
the anti-carry shot though is interesting.
Pretty interesting. I think the reason they put Raging Potato in the offlane, by the way, as a Weaver, is because Weaver is the natural vessel carrier of the team,
Right.
and they want him to get it as soon as possible against 26 Savage Morph.
All right, we're gonna see what happens in this game. I'm fascinated by both these drafts. Very interested in the Dazzle. Pick more Dazzle, and we're gonna go into the wonderful cast for this matchup. It's going to be MLP Dota and johnxfire.
Thank you very much, Mr. Avo Plus. It is MLP Dota and johnxfire here with you today for T1 against Team SMG. And John, I couldn't be more excited for tonight's matchup, but sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this one. Should be quite the grudge match. We heard how confident SMG seemed to be. You know, T1, just another team after TI. And SMG, again, going in with... You know, SMG has been doing this for the past few months now, where they go with these really different drafts, a really different mindset to the game. Last time around, it was like Alchemist and Venge offlane, which they kept running. They also kept going back to the moon, Kotl mid, which we don't see too often. But this time around, they bring the Dazzle out. Not a core Dazzle. We were kind of speculating about that as the draft went on. It is a Raji support, but they have a lot of saves, kind of fitting in with SMG's tagline on Twitter, you know, moving under fire, running under fire, always under fire. Well, they've got the saves for the fire here, Mike. They've got the shallow grave. They've got eventually the time lapse down line with the Ags build up. They've got the Solar Guardian on top as well. So they've got a lot of ways in ensuring their win condition in mid one just stays alive the entire time. It's going to be an interesting dynamic because SMG just go all in on this concept, whereas for T1, they've got a lot of team fight in the supports. They've got a lot of AoE control. They've got some good timings to hit with a Razor Co-op duo and just run down.
I don't know how I'm going to cast this seriously with these T1 voice lines, John. I mean, they really are hilarious. I do enjoy them quite a bit. And we'll see how we go here. I mean, T1, obviously coming out of TI, I think you were talking to me about it, but it wasn't the pre-content video that we had. T1, obviously, you know, they went back to their anime, John, as you mentioned to me earlier. Do we know what kind of anime they were watching while we were in this pause?
Well, I know what Cuckoo was watching at the very least. He suggested me to watch this last week. What was it? Let me scroll down. He wants... what was it? It was a long light novel. Here you go. He is watching The World's Finest Assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat. That's what he's watching. I know what that is. Yes, that's a title. It's like a full sentence, man.
Who thought that was a good idea, John?
Hey, it's the light novel meta. You know, a lot of light novels might as well just be a sentence strapped onto a book. And that's what they're doing now. And you can see why that's taking up Cuckoo's time. If the title's that long, the anime must be a longer watch as well. Maybe.
I imagine so, as mid lane, Raging, will run up to Carl, but won't be much to it. Oh, they actually went with the Cuckoo photo. I didn't know they went with this sticker.
Yep.
That just makes it even better for me. So I'm going to have to take the wallet out right after this game, John. T1. Fantastic, fantastic job. Oh, that Cuckoo face. You know, sometimes, John, you do something stupid when you're young. You've just got to embrace it. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Just embrace it.
Pretty much. They've even got the ignition sticker out as well for Rightmon. And
Oh, goodness me. It's the
I can't
Cuckoo
take this.
face, though. It kills me. It's killing me.
Can you imagine you go gank in, get the kill, just drop this? Don't
Oh.
even drop it after the kill. Just drop it in the gank, right when you go in. Just drop it. Who
That's
cares
why I'm
about
buying it,
actually
John.
using your spells? Just use the sticker.
That's why I'm going to buy it. It's mid lane, Carl and Raging. They'll give each other a high five as we do get into it. Top lane, there could be some action though, as Arfu has shown up with mid one and Rogin. They do land the Starbreaker onto Whitemon, but Arfu, he's dropping very low now, and First Blood will already go the way of Zephyr, as they might find Whitemon, but it is going to be a much better trade here for T1, as they do walk away with the bonus gold, and that'll be a very happy tree in Zephyr.
Yep. Great start for T1 already, taking the First Blood bonus. Sure, it goes on to Zephyr, but you get a little bit of EXP. You set your team up nicely. You don't lose out on a bounty rune trade as well. It should set up for a pretty good start for T1. Taking a look at the mid, Moon on the Ember up against Carl Mike. This should be a very manageable lane for Carl. You know, it's a melee hero matchup. Sure, you might not be able to burn through the Flame Guard, but you're always going to win out the right-click trade, playing with a static link. And Moon has to watch himself as levels go up. You're going to be able to clear out the creep wave, but you don't want to cop too much of that harassment coming through from Carl here, especially until you get your level 6 mark. That's when you're safer from the static link, but that's a long time in this laning phase.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It should be a very interesting lane, as we are looking at top now. We're mid one, and of course Rogi going to be against Zephyr and Cuckoo on that co-op. Now, everyone kind of had their doubts when they saw the Cuckoo co-op. We know he enjoys playing this hero on the off lane occasionally, John, does it incite confidence in you seeing Cuckoo on this squad?
Yeah, it's something he knows how to play on the edge. It gives him that mobility to jump in and out. It's really aggressive with the Treant as well. You're already seeing Zephyr just cutting across the creep line, ensuring that mid one and Roger can't just walk up, get some harassment off. And as long as Cuckoo plays this lane like this, you know, hit his level spikes, level 3 is going to be interesting. He could opt for 1-1-1 if he needs a blink, or just go doubling in onto Dagger or the Scream of Pain to really be aggressive. And as long as Zephyr keeps providing these windows to get some harassment off, mid 1 is not that durable early on. And even if Roger goes for an early Shadow Wave, it's not going to be too much healing at this point in the game. So you can make it hard for mid 1 to farm.
They've got Whitemon. He'll try to Fairy Fire up and run out with the kinetic field, but Raging, he's on the chase.
Ooh.
He'll keep going for this, but the salve is out. Raging, he may have gone too far, and he has. Oh, Whitemon, the Ignition God, strikes once again. The Savage just gets to work, and the Disruptor will walk away with a kill. Fu and Raging not going to be too happy with that.
It's a big sacrifice to make. The Weaver's timings are going to be really important. He does have the Earn Up, so he was kind of maybe gunning just for the charge to be up and running so that he could apply even more pressure onto Savage. But while they chase him down, you know, Savage gets the farm up, although he gets left alone now and is punished. So at least you do find that core trade in the end.
Yeah, I mean, he is still level 2. He doesn't have that level 2 morph up yet, so Arfu taking full advantage just by himself. Definitely a very nice play there from the Dawnbreaker as Whitemon looks like he's still trying to deny himself off this tier 2 tower, and will do so. Took him a bit of time. Could have probably just ran all the way to the fountain with that much time, but nevertheless, he does go to the tier 2 instead. We'll get a free reset. So looking back up to this mid lane, though. I mean, Moon, it's a bit of a struggle, John, but you've got to give props to Moon. He is doing a decent job of keeping up in terms of CS here against Carl. I mean, you do have a pretty big disadvantage as the Ember, but Moon's still doing a pretty nice job.
Yeah, he's playing around with the Flame Guard real well. He knows that it's not going to burn down to the Plasma Field early on. He still has a wave clearing out the creep wave and getting his EXP up and farm going as well. And he's not really being rotated on. I think that's the one thing with the sports on T1 here.
He's in trouble, John. They might dive him for this. He's got stick charges, and in fact, they won't. Mid-1 trying to bait them forward as now Zephyr may have gone too forward. With that poison touch, they've just got so much slow here from Roger. Zephyr might just turn now, though. Roger, have you gone too far? He'll try and keep going, but it's not going to be enough. Hands up from Zephyr, but no high five will come. But he got something better, John. He'll get the kill onto Roger, and he'll get a free salve out from Cuckoo.
Yeah, they get to stay in lane. You're really low here for mid-1, all out of regen, only having the Fairy Fire. Did you manage to get the dive bot, though?
Yeah, Raging Potato able to pick one up here onto Whitemon, so a bit of sweet revenge now as they do move in onto Savage. They do have the Earn up there on Raging, so they want to try and take down this Morphling while they still can. But do they have the damage output? Well, they're going to try, but Savage does get the stun out. Raging is completely committed to trying to make sure he does secure this kill, and in the end, they might just find it. Great persistence out from SMG, and it does end up paying off in the end.
Yeah, it's an interesting trade-off from both sides, right? Like, you're not killing off the Medusa, but she's not farming very well. You are killing off Savage down bot, but he's taking all the creeps in the lane. So you're still getting a little bit more there for Savage. You're still not very happy about losing him, though, and that's allowing Raging Potato to hit that snowball start. The timing, the Spirit Vessel this game, not going to take long. That's going to complicate the process for Savage to just feel comfy, even showing up to just take some laning creeps down the line.
Oh, top lane. Cuckoo again. It jumped here with the poison touch, but should be just fine. As there's a lot of action at this top lane, considering you do have a Medusa. You'd expect a bit more passiveness, but not quite, especially from T1 as they make the jump in again onto mid-1. He does have some stick charges, but nowhere near enough as Zephyr. He does end up dropping the sticker. Oh, you love to see it.
That is going to be a hotly contested pack, let me tell you, Mike. Everyone's going to have that sticker. Or at least T1's going to have to maximize it. SMG, it's still an even game. Again, you're trading off your cores here in the safe lane. It's 5-5. Both offlaners having a splendid time. Although T1 are still going here, just applying pressure onto Raji, but mid-1's back to do some damage as well.
Yeah, but Zephyr's already got Roger here, I think. Cuckoo will jump in with a Scream out, and Roger is going to drop. Zephyr now 4-0-0 on this Treant. And you heard him earlier on. in the little content piece there is, in fact, hold that thought, because mid lane, Carl, he does end up finding Moon on the Ember. He might die to Arfu, though, but he'll just try and run. Arfu eventually will be able to take the kill, but Carl, he'll be happy with the trade. He does find the Ember first. That'll give him a nice advantage once they both respawn up.
Yeah. It's still a very big pick-off for Carl to take solo for the most part, and our Razor's going to hit that big spike. Level 6 already, power tread's almost up. He can just focusing on running down, really maximize that static link, and, you know, pressure the Ember. No level 6 up yet for Moon, but he will find it in this creep wave, so pressuring out the Ember's not going to last too long now, and the issue now comes into hold. Your supports haven't really shown up to mid, so you can't really make those big plays yet onto Moon, and I think this should give Moon a little bit more leeway to hit his own spikes. Phase Boot's almost done, Mike. Into the Orb of Corrosion next, and once you've got that, again, big power spike for the Ember to play around with Sleight of Fist. He can start to rotate around and maybe even use some of that minus armor coming through from Raging Potato for kills.
Mid lane just looking so tough now for Moon. I mean, we were talking about him doing a decent job in terms of CS, but Carl's got him very aggressive now. 38 and 22 on the Razor is the CS score here for Carl. Now you might look for rotations as the Razor if you feel like it. I mean, top lane does look kind of juicy. At least for now, though, he'll stick around mid. Spot lane, Savage. He's gonna get chased down here by Raging, but not gonna lead to much as top lane. Be passive as well right now, but Zephyr is setting up onto Roger again. Just look at the amount of damage with the Sonic Wave out. Roger just completely disappears as mid one cannot do anything to help out. Such a rough laning stage thus far for SMG, at least this top lane. And again, there's just nothing they can do about it. Has snuck up, chains her out, perhaps they can do something, but Cuckoo will make a run now with the blink out, but Moon does have the haste rune up. So eventually Cuckoo will drop. Nice rotation out from Moon, and an immediate remnant back towards the mid lane.
That's what we needed to see from SMG. They need to get going on Moon. He needs to make these plays on the side lanes and relieve some of that pressure on mid one. He's at that point where he can do that. Phase Boots up. We'll see if he'll rush the Javelin next. They are going on to
Carl. That's a big pick off mid lane. He's the highest CS on the board right now. And Carl, he has no chance of survivals. They just dive him. SMG starting to get aggressive on their own end of things. In fact, they might even go after Whitemon now, or even Cuckoo. That Queen of Pain as they do show up to make sure they defend this mid-tier 1 tower. But Raging, he will Sakuchi through and just get the vision out with the Spirit Vessel already up. He's got plenty of damage available, but he may have gone too far now as Zephyr. He's going to be around, but they will glimpse him back. Whitemon, though, still going to go down as Arfu, able to pick up the kill with the Celestial Hammer, and now it's onto Zephyr. They found that pesky tree, and they should be able to get him too as Carl. He's going to try and rotate. Back in onto Arfu they go. They will finally get the Dawnbreaker down. But it does still seem very worthwhile for the side of SMG. Is Raging, he's not done yet. He'll keep up the vision onto Carl, but eventually we'll leave him be. But Raging, he's done a fantastic job, John. Just so aggressive, just giving so much information back to his team on this Weaver. And it's not something you see too often, but it is a pos 3 Weaver after all. You've got to do something to have some impact.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got that Spirit Vessel around earlier than 9 minutes, actually, and that just allows them to really play aggressive, to line up. They've got level 6 up now in Afu as well, Mike. So they've got Solar Guardian. He can just make plays onto Savage. If Savage isn't careful, the control is there to kind of burst down his Morphling.
Chains are out. He will Strength Morph and TP away, Afu. Nah, he shouldn't be able to get the Starbreaker in time. They will be able to secure that bottom tier 1 tower, though, and that might be just as good. Thing is, T1 can get started on their own tier 1 at top lane. They will. It's one of those things as well with SMG, and we kind of talked about this just in the back end, John, but it does feel like you get to a stage, especially throughout the mid-game for SMG, where you start to wonder how this Medusa's going to die. Because you've got so many ways of keeping the Medusa alive this game. But once those levels are up, especially on the supports of SMG, I'm looking very forward to seeing what T1 do about it.
Yeah, you're going to have that build-up for the Dazzle. Eventually, he'll have the max-out Grave. He'll hit level 18. Uptime on Grave is pretty ridiculous. We're probably not going to see the Weaver Ags here from Raging. He could opt for, say, a 4th, maybe 5th item pickup. It's not going to be a priority. You still have the Solar Guardian on top, though. And this is an Ags rush for Afu, so he's just straight into Ags, get the evasion, get the additional healing on top for Big Dusa. And as you said, Mike, you know, this is going to be saving President Mid One. You know, he's under fire. They've got the spells to protect, so eventually the Dusa can get to work.
Right now, Raging needs some saving, and they are going to try, but this Solar Guardian not going to help Afu too much. The tips do come out. Afu, he is going to be able to run for a little bit, but the glimpse eventually is going to be back from Whitemon and Afu. He try to help, but they will both get shot here. SMG, well, they won't really be able to defend their tier 1 top tower with just 3 heroes. They'll just have to let this one go down.
It's a big set of kills coming out from T1, finally slowing down, or continuing to slow down Raging Potato, as he has been looking to be really aggressive. He's not taking a lane to farm. He's not looking to build up with the Spirit Vessel. He just wants to run and gun. That is giving Moon a lot of space here, Mike, and it does look like he is going to rush into the Maelstrom first. After those phase boots already having a Mythril Hammer out. He could switch that to a BKB as well if he feels the need to, which would completely counteract control of T1, would wear Overgrowth with the Static Storm as well. So I think you're leaving it open for Moon depending on what he needs. But the spikes from SMG are kind of lining up. T1 don't have a massive lead here, Mike. Less than 1k coming through. They are getting some early level spikes, but they're very ult-reliant for control. Right? They need Overgrowth, they need Static Storm on their supports. Their cores don't really have that control, and you're always going to be tied into those cooldowns. They're not the longest cooldowns. It still does put a limit on the aggression for your team, whereas for SMG, once they get the items up, they can continue to run and gun with no worries here.
That's the fear here for T1. Like, you're looking strong right now, but there is going to come a point where SMG is just going to hit a massive power spike. And again, T1, they're the ones who are going to just have to weather the storm throughout that mid game. We'll just wait out Savage and the Morphling to get to a point where he can get through the Medusa HP pool. At least for now, though, they are going to smoke up as 3 here. T1 may look to move into that dire triangle. The lines have been drawn out towards the bot lane, so it does seem like they want to try and go after Raging. Smoke still up. Raging still very far forward here on this Weaver. Can they hold him down long enough? Whitemon does have that Static Storm available, and Raging, he will get glimpsed back, but the time lapse was a little bit too early on. Carl, not going to be able to find him. Raging fine for now, but Zephyr, he's going to have a look through this tree line and eventually is going to spot him out. Raging, how well can you juke out? They'll drop down the sentry, give the vision over, and eventually they will catch out the Weaver, but now the rotations, they'll come in. SMG, they'll try to fight this one out, but it may have been wishful thinking as they'll lose 2 straight off the bat. And Moon, well, he'll be the 3rd. Oh, they tried. Save your buddy syndrome. It does not pay off for SMG, though.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta appreciate that near global presence of SMG to be right across the map with 2 heroes just jumping in to back you up. Issue is we haven't hit those item beats yet, Mike. The Ags is still a ways off here for Afu. And again, we've been kind of hanging with Moon on the Mythril Hammer. He is going to opt for the BKB just so that when he does jump in, he's protected. But until that's up, you're very susceptible to those big ults from T1. And again, every time those spells are up for T1, they are going to look to force the issue. They didn't pop the spells early on. They could have maybe gone for Overgrowth on a single pickup, but they know SMG wants to jump in. SMG wants to look to play this kind of turnaround style with the presence they have in the heroes, and it's so easily punished by T1. They have to find that window while those spells are down. That's when SMG need to move in.
Bot lane. Bit of damage here onto Raging. I thought they might try to make the jump again, but I suppose without the Static Storm, they won't bother. Still smoke now out from SMG. Moon and Roger, they'll be on the run. See who they can find as Whitemon. He'll be around to break the smoke. They'll get him. Chains out, but Carl is right behind it if he does choose to help. But Remnant is forward. Static Storm, though, going to be dropped. Moon, he'll be trapped up, but there'll be no follow-up to it. So SMG, they get away with the Disruptor kill. T1, stand around and make sure those towers are defended. Oh, Carl, though, he may have gone too far. They should have the damage to try and take down this Razor. Zephyr, though, he will drop the ulti and try to help out, but Carl, he's still ticking down. Remnants forward. Moon, so close yet so far. He needs one more tick of damage, but he's not going to be able to get it. Or maybe he can, but no, Carl. He will drop eventually, but Moon is the first one to go as Raging. He even snuck in from the backside to try and help out, but it was all too late. I suppose maybe you could argue it was worth for SMG, but It doesn't really feel that way.
I think they're doing the right thing on SMG's side, though, Mike. Like, they're forcing all this aggression bot, so their top jungle's really protected. Mid 1 has had so much time to just catch up after that really slow laning phase. He's only about 500 gold behind Morphling. He's hitting some item spikes here on the Dusa. The Manta style's already up, so there's some protection here for mid 1. I think overall, this is exactly how SMG should play. Just keep running and gunning, force the aggression elsewhere, buy time for the Dusa to grow big. Eventually, you'll hit your item spike, you'll hit your level spikes on your other heroes, but your Dusa's going to be gigantic. I think they're just confident in mid 1 being that big win condition to carry them through to the late game.
Yeah, and he's only about 300 gold behind Savage right now, so mid 1's just having a great old time. A very free game after that laning stage here for the Medusa. So he will just remain in that triangle, just keep farming up efficiently. And T1, they're the ones who kind of have to respond to this, but for now they haven't done too much about it. Perhaps just having faith that Savage will be able to carry them through against this Medusa. And Savage, he is getting relatively close now to having the full shotgun up on this Morphling. That might be around the time where you start to move as a team as T1 and just try to shut down the draft of SMG. Not too far to go, though, before he does have that Ghost Scepter up. Just about 700 gold for that.
Yeah, and that's going to be the major spike. I love the itemization here on Savage as well, Mike. After the shotgun, straight into Satanic. Right, so he knows eventually the Scotties are going to come out. The healing reduction from the Spirit Vessel is big, but we point this out every single time. Satanic active overwhelms the healing reduction. Every single time. So you can just lifesteal through in the middle of a fight as long as you're not disabled. I think that's what Savage is going to be banking for up against that Spirit Vessel from Raging. So he's just looking for the counterplay, looking for sustain in these longer fights. And it takes away that one big point with Weaver going offlane. You go offlane Weaver for the early Spirit Vessel timing. Raging has done a good job of being aggressive, but he hasn't really shut down Savage, so that Morphling timing's still online here.
That it is. Still slight net worth lead here for SMG, but a very close matchup, and that's exactly what we wanted going into this series. You saw how confident mid 1 was earlier on in the video. You can see, I mean, they have a reason to be confident, at least for now. Doing a decent job of just halting T1 and not allowing them to get aggressive with their draft. Is Raging. Stick around trying to fight for that power rune, but it is just going to be an illusion anyway. It's like Moon will be able to get there and just pick it up for himself. Too game-changing here for the Ember. Though what is game-changing is he does have the BKB up now on that Ember Spirit. Not as much damage as you would hope on Moon, but I think for him it's just all about surviving these team fights and trusting that mid 1 will have the damage along with Raging Potato on that Weaver. So just being able to survive and create all sorts of havoc is what Moon wants.
Yeah, that's all he needs to do. And even if they take some fights without the Dusa, you've got enough debuffs on the side of SMG to kind of enable your Ember. You've got the Swarm running, you've got the bad Juju coming through from Roger after a couple of spell uses, so the minus armor is there to enable the right-click spam of the Ember anyway, and allow him to kind of play with a sleight of fist. So I think they understand that. They just need some of these protective items to enable the 4P1 to kind of run for longer and just keep stalling out for mid 1. It is paying off. Like, we haven't seen mid 1 pressured since the laning phase. He's just been left alone. He's working onto that Scotty. They've got the Ags up and running now on Afu, Mike. So there's evasion, there's additional healing coming through with the Solar Guardian. It's a lot harder to fight into that counterfight of SMG.
Oh, top lane, Moon. Playing with fire. Yules is out. Static Storm dropped. He's got no way out of this one, surely. Roger's there behind him. They've got the Shallow Grave if they need it. He's still surviving, though, and will make it out. The Ag's Solar Guardian from Afu just making it too hard to burst down Moon. And Afu, he'll drop for the greater cause. But you'll be happy with that as SMG. I suppose they could have relied on the Shallow Grave. And speaking of, Roger is going to get caught out by Cuckoo. Another great cure for T1. But can they find some objectives out of this? Mid lane, Carl, he's going to get caught now. This is not what you want to see as T1, but Carl, he's a tanky target. He'll try to make a run, but eventually they will take him down. Still Savage, he'll get to work like a Giga Chat, just fighting against 3 heroes, but eventually we'll just have to let them go. This mid 1 did have the Stone Gaze going. You've got to be very wary of the Petrify. Even as the Morphling is now raging. No, he's not going to get caught. He's just fine, but now Whitemon does get the dust off, has the glimpse back if he needs it. He'll drop the kinetic field. Raging has no way out now. Eventually will end up going down, and Whitemon, he'll be the one to survive. Just with the Shadow Amulet.
a bit on edge there. I think Savage kind of miscast the E-Blade, losing vision at the last second, so he kind of ghost formed himself, but he still managed to clean up. I think the big thing for SMG is just protecting mid one. He does show in. They kind of wanted that mid tier 1. It's still really healthy on T1's side. So there's no progression in denying map control here from SMG and T1. They haven't also been able to focus in on the objectives on mid. But the fights are working the way of T1. Issue is they're not really building a net worth lead here, Mike. So it's still a really even game. I think that will favor SMG as, again, you've got this Dusa. The Scotty is basically up now for mid 1. So even more healing reduction to toss onto Savage. And Savage, yeah, he's approaching that Satanic timing. I do wonder if that's enough. Like, Satanic without any sort of save from the hold, save from the counter fight of SMG, it's still going to be a bit of a tough time for him to just focus in and use that active.
He's got a BKB. He's all right. Scary times for Moon as it feels like he's being hunted every chance they can get, and now, knowing the BKB is down, they want to go for a big smoke up into that die triangle. Scan is out. They're going to find some targets, so they won't break the smoke yet. They'll wrap around the long way and try to just sneak their way into that triangle, into mid 1 if they can. Great place from T1 so far as mid 1. He's going to be spotted. The jump is there. Silence out. Static Storm not going to hold him in though, but the Glimpse Pack is out onto mid 1 now with the Static Link mid 1. He needs some help right here, right now. Solar Guardian, it'll come in and buy more time as he survives, but he's completely out of mana. Shallow Grave now out though. He is still alive. Can they take him out? A big Sonic Wave from Cuckoo as mid 1. He is still trying, but eventually does end up dropping as now they'll turn their attention onto Raging Potato, but he'll make it out. But you saw that the strength of the survivability of this draft from SMG. I mean, that time around, John, it was not quite enough. But my god, it took them quite a while, as in fact, who else have they found? It's going to be Raging Potato. Savage, though, unable to finish the kill off. Raging, he'll be fine back.
They win out massively on T1 side. They find the target they want. They manage to, again, force the uses of the Solar Guardian coming out. The evasion is annoying, but it's just not enough at this point. You don't have the Holy Locket up and running yet. Carl finds Raging Potato scurrying across the map, so sometimes you find a cockroach on the other side of the room, ends up elsewhere, and that's when you get it. They do manage to squish it down, and they take the mid tier 1. So T1 has more access points into that jungle, Mike. They can invade the triangle a little bit easier. They can secure Roshan a lot faster. They still have to take care of that top outpost, though, so maybe gunning for the top tier 2 is going to be the next best bet to secure that objective, but they're feeling good now in T1. 2K leader side, again, not massive, but the momentum is behind them, and the all-in on the Dusa, it's still at work from SMG, but it does feel like it'll take longer for them to hit their spikes. Like, mid 1's going to be farmed up, going for the Daedalus next, but you need to start thinking about what Moon goes for next, right? Like, our Ember, as you mentioned, Mike, he's been hunted down so many times. He's been stuck at BKB for a while. So we have to see what comes out from the Ember to help them do some damage. We have to see what our Weaver takes now as well. It looks like Raging is opting for the Maelstrom, so we're not seeing the Ags Rush as a fourth or a third pick item in this case. I think eventually you might actually just want to go all in. Maybe consider the Axe. It's a bit early for it. You can't do damage with Weaver. Oh.
Yeah, Roger. He tried to deny the DD rune, but Savage did not like what he saw as now. Well, naturally, John, there's a DD rune, which means we go into Roshan. It's just tradition here in SEA. As mid lane, they are going to fight and just cause a distraction here, ensuring that SMG cannot make their way to the pit. And T1 should be able to get a very free Roshan for themselves. And in fact, they might find even more as Moon needs to be very careful. Raging, he'll make his way in, but he cannot get there. He will have to back. But now the Static Storm drop will force out the BKB up from Raging into the ulti out from Zephyr, holding him down. Hands up from Zephyr, and they've got the Weaver again. The T1 just completely outplaying the side of SMG. As SMG with their draft, they are yet to show us how strong it can possibly be. There's mid 1. Now going to get spotted out. Savage will move right in. They'll get the swarm out onto that Medusa. Roger, he'll be right behind, but he needs to get within range now as the Stone Gaze is going to be popped. Sonic Wave there. He's almost out of mana, but he is making his way out as Moon. He'll take he'll take the gank and just start fighting for his carry, make sure he survives, and he does at least for now. But Savage, he's not done yet on the Morphling, moving back in, but it may have been a mistake. Can he survive through it? It's a lot of damage onto the Morphling, but Savage is still alive as mid one. He's been used up again, just surrounded here by T1. He just can't catch a break as they jump the backside. They make sure Roger cannot help out. Cuckoo just silencing up the Dazzle, and mid one does eventually drop. They have found Cuckoo though on that Queen of Pain, but T1 are happy to oblige and keep the fight going. Back onto the Ember. Moon, he'll barely survive, but Arfu cannot. So double kill is there for the Razor. In SMG, they'll drop 3.
And T1 are playing so clean. They're just running up. They're constantly forcing out that aggression. Their, well, cooldowns on their supports aren't that long, so even though there's a little bit of a gap between the moments they fight in, they still manage to get the timings right. And I think for SMG, we're starting to see some of the issues from this draft come true, Mike. Sure, they've got the saves for Dusa, but they don't really have the best control to kind of work these fights their way. They don't have the best amount of stuns. They've got the Starbreaker, they've got the Searing Chains, but they're not very reliable. So every time these engagements come true, they're almost hoping maybe just for a perfect Solar Guardian coming out to either zone them out, buy some time to reassess their position, or just stun them in. That's their best hold right now, and if you can't hold down a Morphling, if you can't hold down a Quap, you have an issue with just these softer heroes immediately melting or just being kited around, and I think SMG is going to have to find a way to fix that up, but it doesn't feel like they've got any easy items to pick to fix this.
Shotgun out onto mid one, but Remnant's forward. Moon, he wants to go for the fight. Right onto Whitemon with the BKB out. He needs to remove that Static Storm, but he's been rooted up again. Zephyr found him, but the Shallow Grave will keep him alive. But now the Static Storm dropped. They control Moon. He will end up dropping his Cuckoo. He'll jump right into the backside, right after mid one on that Dusa. But can they find him? BKB out, Carl. He'll go for the chase. Meanwhile, towards the south, they are dealing with Raging as Roger now. He will go down on that Dazzle. They'll leave mid one Bs. They'll try to go back in onto Arfu and just deal with that Dawnbreaker, and they may just as Arfu. He's been slowed up and is going to drop as mid one. He thought he was safe on the high ground, but that is not going to be the case. Not against Master Cuckoo, who blinks right in but blinks right back out. He's just not confident when Roger does buy back on that Dazzle. So they'll go back after that tier 2 mid tower. But T1, just such clean gameplay, Jonathan. I mean, you saw Whitemon. He should have dropped to Moon on that Ember, but they just keep him alive long enough, and even with the BKB out from the Ember, it does not deal with the tree ulti very well.
No, it really doesn't, and I love how T1 are staggering their spell use, right? Overgrowth during BKB fades, immediate Static Storm, just all the control you need, and that's the most annoying hero. Sure, you could argue that it kind of leaves you vulnerable to the Weaver, but he's a much easier target to track.
Been slowed up here, mid one. He'll go for the chase as Arthur will join. Savage, he's got the Aegis up, but he may lose one life. He needs some help right here, right now. He'll try to man fight back. It's not looking great, but Cuckoo, he'll come in to try and help out. Still, they have lost the first life for Carl. He'll initiate as well. Back in onto that Dusa. Mid one, having all his damage just sucked away from Carl as Arthur. He'll pop the Solar Guardian and just try to make sure that the Medusa does stay alive, but Arthur, he dies mid-air. I've never seen that. He dies in the air.
Oh, that's a first. Just falls down.
I think it was the Shadow Poison.
Yeah, just ticked him out. Unfortunate. Oh, Raging.
Yeah, Raging's been caught. Cuckoo. He'll go for the chase. Are they going to find him? Whitemon trying to sniff him out. Eventually does. But they have the detection. Oh, they will now. Dusts are out. Double dust, in fact, just in case they drop the Static Storm. Raging Potato, he'll get a taste of the Ignition God.
Yeah, they were kind of fighting over that kill as well, Mike. You know, Cuckoo wanted to be sneaky, use the Scream of Pain to steal it away from his support, but Whitemon does clean it up. There is justice in this world, Mike. What there isn't right now for SMG is easy ways to break these fights up. There's still a severe lack of control coming out. Maybe the Ag Shard needs to come out from Roger. Like, even though that Hex isn't too long, it's enough for them to, again, line up the use of the chains, maybe look for a good Starbreaker to fall on top of that and just chain stun from there. But the control of these team fights just isn't there. You can keep mid one alive. You can keep trying to reset the Dusa. And mid one does have some decent damage coming through with the Crystallis up into the Daedalus next. It just doesn't feel like enough control. Like, if T1 can still keep chasing you across the map, diving to your trees, then there's still an issue to fix for SMG. They do have the Ags up on Moon, so he does have his next item after the BKB here, Mike. Allows him to jump around a little bit easier, and again, kind of line up for the back line, burst down the supports before they can maybe drop their big spells. It's hard for Moon, though. He only really has Raging to back him up, and our Weaver has been stuck on Javelin for quite a long time, hasn't been able to finish up the Maelstrom, so there's maybe a slight lack of damage if it's only the Weaver and Ember that can
John.
jump the back line first.
We've got a big smoke up, and you look at Savage. Look what he's got in the bottle, John. Yeah, he's got that double damage up on that Morphling. That's going to be a bit of a concern here for the side of SMGs. We've seen T1 happy to just dive high ground as they sneak over. Nice ward out from Whitemon. That'll give the vision onto the Medusa, but instead they might go for after another, or maybe not. Mid one, he's targeted. He's just been completely just taken out as T1 delete him. SMG had no idea what was going on. They just did not react fast enough. They were still trying to fight as the buyback is there from mid one. They've lost Arfu and Roger though. Can they really take this fight? They're still going to try. Just chase down Carl on that Razor, but it will be fine for now. And now the overgrowth out. Cuckoo with the Sonic Wave does take out Moon, and they even found Raging. In fact, mid one, he'll be the 5th to drop. They call it. They have seen enough. And T1 make quick work of SMG in this game, number 1. I'll tell you what, man. John, they may have been watching anime after TI. It just doesn't seem to matter, though.
No, it certainly doesn't. Looks like T1 form is still in check. SMG. That's an adorable little doll. But SMG, you know, they were confident coming in. They had this really unique draft, going all in and just saving their win condition. Never really came out. Like, sure, mid one was farming for such a long time. Moon had a pretty quick BKB. Raging had a very fast Spirit Vessel. They had no follow-through. They lacked control on their supports. They kind of just pigeonhole themselves into that sustained game, and without the stuns, without the control, you can't keep a Quap down. You could maybe chase a Razor down, but if the backup comes in with the highly mobile heroes and the Quap and the Morphling down line, you just didn't have enough to stop that aggression.
Clearly T1 has had their mate this morning, John. We're going to head off to a short break and allow SMG their time to scull a few mates before we do get into game number 2. And with that, we'll head to a break and we'll be right back with our panel.